about.
And that shouldn't change when I turn this. Is it? Okay. Potentiometer works the way you expect a potentiometer to work. 1K might have been a lot of current between power and ground, maybe? That shouldn't be. You're right, 1K shouldn't be that much.
I think we just had it in the wrong.
Well, it did it again. Do you have a magnifying lens or anything to see if I've got a pins bent or particle in there?
I don't actually have that. He's got a here. Give me your glasses.
Who has the worst?
Who has the worst vision?
Holding far away.
Dude, good for dude.
Does it still feel like it's stuck there?
Mine's not this.
It does. Yeah, it's actually not going in smooth. So I might have a bent pen.
Oh yeah, that one. I got an injector there.
But it's a progressive.
Taking a little while here to get plotting. It's unplugged. Let's go back to these. Let's go back to the questions here and make sure. Here, yeah. So I think there was something else we left off up here earlier. Image copies, bootloader function, ADC onboard examples. Here we go. There's the source code to the onboard examples, so you can look at that. Hardware best practices.
That was just what you
This
just
is-
answered basically.
we did- yeah.
The question was, is there a better way than having these pigtails just and soldering them to other connectors and?
I find using these pretty handy. That's got so you can just kind of still do breadboarding stuff. The biggest limitation is that these are only 4 wires because they're designed to go with the Grove connectors. Actually, if I was smart enough to bring a Grove potentiometer, right, you could actually just take the Grove potentiometer and plug it straight into it and just go from there, right?
So I guess the Beaglebone green comes with the Grove connectors on the board, right?
The Beaglebone green comes with 2, one for I2C and one for UART.
Okay.
Then you can get a Grove cape to connect up a number of other ones.
Would that also work with the normal blue one, or does that have to be with the Beaglebone green?
No, it could be with black or black wireless. You could use the Grove cape. To me, using the Grove with the blue is the most convenient because I can just buy these. And then for each of the different places where I would need to connect a Grove up to, I would just use the blue and use one of these cables. It booted? It's running? Oh, okay. Let's make sure there's no short. Let's make sure there's no short first. Okay. Now it's booting because it wasn't actually this connection. It was when I'm plugging the cable in, it was causing the short.
Yeah, wait. So what did you change?
There are pins that basically me trying to insert it backwards. I bent some of the pins.
Oh, and they were
shorting.
The plastic's kind of damaged, so we'll
Throw it out.
Okay.
So now I'm going to connect. I'm still doing it hot, which is not hardware best practices to do this hot, but I do it all the time. And so the first wire should be power. The second wire should be ground, so I'm connecting that to the opposite end of the potentiometer. Still running, okay. And then the third pin, I'm going to connect to the tap, right? So that should be ADC 0.
Okay.
Now, there's a few different places I can read ADC 0. I don't have my node up anymore. I guess I don't need the 3000 in here either. The 3000 is the stretch images require you to put :3000 to get to the IDE. The Buster images get rid of that.
What's a stretch image?
Debian 9.
What's a buster image?
Debian 10.
So we're only gonna deal with the latest, right?
I sure hope so.
So Debian
It's
10.
easier for us to fix things if you deal with the latest.
When we started our last semester,
I'm sure you're doing stretch.
It was.
okay.
So there's a few different ways. One of the just load everything. There's a few different ways to read the ADC. This watch utility is really nice. I can do things like watch, sys, bus. I happen to just know where this is. IO device, or sorry, yeah, devices IO device 0 in voltage 0 raw. That's where the ADC 0 value is. So now if I turn the potentiometer one way, it goes up to 4096. That's 12-bit. That's maximum 4096. If I turn it the other way, it should go down to 0.
Now hold on, your positive is 3.3, right?
Yes. No, 1.8. My positive is 1.8.
So you're not sending it. You're sending it from an ADC pin. You have ground, ADC,
I
analog
have ground,
Yeah.
reference voltage, and then ADC. And so I have the two ends of the potentiometer connected to ground, reference voltage, which is output 1.8 from the board.
Okay, so
And then on the first signal pin,
Yeah.
it's the tap on the potentiometer.
and you can't. There's on that connector. There's no pin that can produce above 1.8, right?
Neither produce nor consume. So if you want more than 1.8, you need to put some external
Divider.
resistor dividers in there. Those are input only ADC. I mean, there's a touchscreen controller, but you're never gonna probably use that. So it's always just essentially gonna be ADC input only. So now I've just watched, this watch is reading too slow. There. Alright. There are other interesting sensors. I was just trying to look at some way that I could manually control this so that we're plotting something nice. So that is the same as AIN0 or ADC_3 for the pretty Beaglebone blue name. So let's make sure Node can read it from BoneScript, because this is using the BoneScript library in order to read the value out. RB equals require script. We could be getting it from other places, just reading files or whatnot, but just for convenience sake, we're reading it from the browser side, using BoneScript. So the Flot JavaScript library runs in the browser, not on the board. The plotting utility runs in the browser, not on the board. So we're not producing JPEG images. Does that make sense?
That value we were seeing on the screen.
That's just that we're running that on the board, we're reading it on the board, displaying it through the standard output, and just putting it on the screen, right? That's
Okay.
But this, what I'm about to show
Oh,
you
what are you about? I was gonna say.
is using a browser side graphing utility,
Got it.
and just reading those values back. But first, one step before that is I'm gonna just make sure that my JavaScript read function works, which is b.analog read ADC_3. This one happens to use it as a constant between 0 and 1. I mean, a floating point value between 0 and 1. So 1, I thought it was easier JavaScript just to give me a floating point number. So it's just between 0 and full scale being 1. That made more sense to me than being an integer, but
Except how
it's gonna lose percent.
0 is most certainly 0, but
1 is
1.8
full scale is 1.8 volts.
Is it 1.800?
Yeah. Well, it's whatever the
Or it's
reference voltage is.
1.84.
It's 1.7999
It depends on your.
or 1.80001, right? It's somewhere
So it's
around-
within a percent or.
It's within a
1/10.
percent of 1.8 volts. If there's a reference voltage that comes out of the board.
Okay. So as long as the board has sufficient voltage, so the board requires 5 volts to operate, right?
No, not.
So if you power from
technically.
USB, you would get
Right.
5 volts. You might even get
Right.
4.7.
But you can run it down to, does not require 5 volts
Okay.
in.
But in the case that, we'll never provide it less than 4.7. In the case that it goes from 4.7 all the way up to 16 from the barrel plug, that reference voltage won't change because it's passing through a regulator,
Yes,
a good regulator.
a good regulator.
Because that's critical for if we decide we really want to measure something.
To get an absolute voltage.
Yeah.
It's reasonable. There's a noise, like in all things. There's noise. You can do some filtering, but this is not a noise-free environment. Like that potentiometer isn't moving, but I'm hovering between a couple different values. But I just wanted to, that was one side I wanted to make sure I could do that. So now I know that Bone Script can actually read it. Let's see. Oh man. Changes. Oh, that is weird. I really should figure out what this is someday. The first time you open up the HTML file, it disconnects.
Mine didn't do that actually. I went ahead and double clicked it after I said I wouldn't. Oh, really? Start operating like a pro.
It's not going to connect because I haven't dealt with the issue that I've just something I thought about that's changed in between the when this demo was made and when the Buster image was made. We moved the Bone Script server from port 80 to port 8000. Just check my server code here real fast. See what the workaround is. Because I think we could specify the port and the set target address. Sorry, I don't expect you to understand what I'm saying.
Okay, that's good. Gives me time to get it.
Spelled right. Address. Alright, hopefully I can just specify it this way, which is colon 8000. There it goes. Why does it take so long? place in my slides where I have this demo.